You can't be wealthy if you aren't healthy. Here's why. That's where we're going today. We're going to talk about how you can't be wealthy if you aren't healthy. And we're going to break this down. So that statement for some of you is probably like, well, yeah, no kidding, right? Your health is your wealth. Like we've heard all that before. But what does that actually mean if we break it down beyond just being healthy or, having a self-care practice? It goes much, much deeper than that. Or being an advocate for self-care. It goes much, much deeper than that. And I'm going to invite you to go deeper into that with me today. And let me know as we go along today, what lands with you, what's valuable for you, what may be an epiphany for you, what dots get connected for you today. I encourage you to share in the comments what you notice somebody else may not notice, and it may be helpful for them to see. All right, so you can't be wealthy if you aren't healthy. Here's why. I'm going to break this down into different categories of life. So we're going to look at physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So we're going to look at health in all of those areas and how they relate to being wealthy and how they relate to your business and the success of your business. So let's start with healing or healthy, being healthy physically, which may include healing. Often does, right? Things need to heal from time to time, like our hearts, our physical well-being, our mental well-being, our spiritual well-being. All of these things need healing at one point or another in different stages and phases and seasons of our lives. So let's look at being physically healthy. Okay, so we'll start there. So on the physical level, this we can look at energy. What are your energy levels like? How are you getting up in the morning? Are you getting up in the morning, dragging yourself out of bed? Is it hard to wake up in the morning? Is it hard to get yourself out of bed in the morning? Are you snoozing that alarm clock too much, where you're wasting an hour or 2 hours, whatever? Are you not able to get up early? Are you not going to bed early? So here's a really powerful thing to think about. Your day actually starts not in the morning, but it starts the night before. Your day doesn't start in the morning. It starts the night before. So that means, what time are you going to bed? What time are you going to sleep? There's an ideal time to go to sleep, and that's 10 p.m. By 10 p.m., you're in bed, eyes closed, lights out. Getting to as close to that as possible, or even earlier, is like bonus points for getting to bed earlier than 10. There are health benefits to getting to bed by 10 p.m. It gives your liver and your internal organs a chance to fully reboot and restore and rest for a full day of activity the next day. If we're not getting that, and we're consistently going to bed late, this is for all the night owls out there, or the overworkers or the overachievers who think, sleep is overrated and you want to just work yourself to death, right? This is for you. For people who aren't doing that, and you're going to bed chronically late, you're never giving your internal organs a chance to reboot and to restore themselves and to fully rest. So then the next day, they're not able to function optimally and do all the things that they're built to do and do efficiently in your body to move you through the day. All of this tracks back to energy and your energy levels. So consider that that your day starts the night before, not in the morning, and getting yourself to bed at an early hour or earlier hour, like 10 p.m., or as close to that as you can, gives your body the full restoration and reboot that it needs. So then the next day you're up early, you have energy because your internal organs are ready to go. They're ready fully rebooted, fully battery charged for another day. Otherwise, imagine, your car, your electric car not running, trying to get your car to run on a half a battery for an entire day, or your phone or whatever. It's not going to function that well, and you're going to lose power before the day's over. That's exactly what happens in your body. You lose power before the day's over. Energy dips. And then what happens when energy dips? Well, we'll get into that when we get into the other areas. But there's energy for the physical health. This also ties to brain function. We need our brains to function to run a business. We need our brains to function to make big decisions during the day about our business, or decisions in our life that may be big from time to time, about our children, about, whatever it is that we are needing to make that are big decisions. We need our brain to be working for those things, right? We can't be functioning on brain fog. That doesn't work very well. And I know that from personal experience. It's not practical. It also ties to stamina, right? Energy, brain function, stamina, the ability to have endurance all the way through the day without feeling like you need a nap, without feeling like you need to down 3 to 4 cups of coffee. You can actually function optimally on a ton of energy that it's real. Not coffee energy. I'm talking about energy that's sourced from your own body because it's healthy. You don't need the energy drinks and you don't need the coffee. And I can speak to you from experience. I've never drank a cup of coffee in my entire life. Not a single one. Never took to it, didn't like it, took a sip and was like, ew, gross. And it didn't resonate with my body. So I function purely on organic, natural, healthy, physical energy all day, right? And every day. Endurance, stamina, endurance, right? These are powerful pieces too. Your business and what you're building in your business is a long game, right? It's not a short game. It's not overnight success. It's a long game. You learn every year, you grow every year, you build every year, right? You scale every year, and you hit new levels and new breakthroughs every year. That's a long game. That's part of the long game. So the longevity of your business ties to the longevity of your own health. If you are the head and heart of your company, how can you expect to last, or for your company to last, if you are not healthy? Because it will suffer when you suffer. So there's so much more I could say about this, and I will probably do individual videos on each of these areas. But for now, I'm going to run through sort of a synopsis of each one, just to give you a little bit more about how your health ties so closely to the wealth that you can create in your life. So for this physical one, at least on the things that I've covered so far, I want to invite you to rate yourself from 1 to 10 on your physical health. Rate yourself from 1 to 10. So 10 being, I am in my prime health. I have never been healthier. I'm getting out of bed early with full energy. I'm not dragging my feet. I'm getting to bed in a reasonable hour. I'm sleeping through the night. I have so much energy during the day. I don't need to depend on, energy drinks or coffee to get through a day. I don't need a nap in the middle of the day. Like, I have sustained energy. That's a 10. And then a 1 is pretty much the opposite of that. You're dragging, you're dependent on coffee, you're dependent on energy drinks, you're dependent on naps. Your brain function could be a lot better. You have trouble focusing. Maybe there's some brain fog, low energy, low stamina, low endurance. To that nature. And then of course, everything in between. So rate yourself from 1 to 10 on your physical health. Okay, next is your mental health. So this ties into the brain function as well. And the big one in business is focus. Focus is one of the greatest assets we have in creating, building, and scaling a business. is focus. If you don't have focus, you're going to be squirrel brain all over the place. It's going to be very, very hard to get stuff done and be efficient in each day and every week, every quarter, every year, reaching your goals, right? Without focus. In other words, we're going to be all over the place. It's such an incredible asset and something to work on and to cultivate and to support. This has everything to do with where you put your attention. So if we are physically unhealthy or our physical health could be better, there's room for improvement, which likely there is for everybody watching this, that will affect your ability to focus. If there's heavy metals, if there's toxins in your body, a lot of them, I mean, we all have toxins in our body, but if we are inundated to where your detox organs can't function properly, that's going to affect your gut, that's going to affect your brain, that's going to affect your focus. Another thing we could talk about is, are we getting over emotional about making decisions, or are you able to see the bigger picture and make sensible decisions without emotional triggers blurring your view? So this is going to tie into emotional health in a moment. But that mental health is huge in terms of focus and clear seeing. Here's another big piece around mental focus is not being able to shut off your work brain. So in other words, at the end of a day, especially if you're the owner of your business and you run your business, are you able to shut your mind off? Are you always thinking about your business? Right? This is the curse of entrepreneurship that we all need to face and look at is, can you turn your work brain off? Can you actually go out with your friends or with your partner or spouse, spend time with your kids without thinking about work? And fully be present with them, fully enjoy them, connect with them on a human level, heart level, emotional level, experience joy, experience laughter, experience happiness without in the back of your mind, you're thinking about the next task or the next post that you've got to do on Monday or whatever it is, right? Are you always in work mode no matter what environment are you in? If that's the case, that is not healthy. That is imbalanced. Right? We don't have a healthy balance. And I'm not saying 50-50 when I say balanced. What I mean by balance is you have the ability to, when you're in work mode, you're in work mode. You're getting stuff done. You're focused. You get stuff done at the end of the workday, whenever that is for you. You close the laptop, you're done. Put down the phone, you're done. And you can easily and gracefully transition into relaxation or whatever it is, other activities, hobbies, things that you love to do, you can go right into that and you're not thinking about work until the next day when work starts again or whenever that is. So based on all of that I've said here, of course, there's more, and I'll go into this in future videos. Rate yourself 1 to 10. 10 being your mental health is on point, your focus is dialed, you know exactly where to put your attention in your business and where not to put your attention in your business, right? Big needle movers, we know where to put our attention. Things that just take up time and they're not big needle movers, we're not putting our attention there. How do you rate yourself with that? And are you able to turn your work brain off? Or are you always thinking about it no matter where you are, whether you're spending time with family or not, you're thinking about work? Are you really able to unplug when you're not working? Or you just can't stop thinking about work or worrying about it or whatever it might be? So a 1 would be like, no, can't shut the work brain off, constantly thinking about it. Even when I'm out at social gatherings, I'm thinking about work. Even when I'm, have time off, I'm thinking about work. That'd be a 1. So rate yourself 1 to 10. Okay. Next one, your emotional health, being healthy emotionally. This points to the heart. This points to the heart. The ability to connect human to human, heart to heart. And here's a big one: the ability to create connection and relate to people, even in your workspace, through connection versus transaction. So we can tie this to the mental health of the inability to turn your work brain off would look like, in the emotional realm, this would look like every interaction that you have with another person is a transaction to you, but you don't know how to create human connection. It's just literally everything is a transaction, right? Versus knowing how to connect with another human being and create relationship. Not just it's all, work-based and transaction-based and then clock in, clock out, see you later. It lacks heart, it lacks connection, right? So it's connection versus transaction. If you want to build a heart-based business, this piece is super important. It cannot be all about strategy. If you don't know how to approach all strategy, and I mean all strategy, from the heart, you won't have a heart-based business by default. Everything will be a transaction and nothing more, right? And people will feel that. And they won't feel like what you're running, right, is a heart-based business, right? So that's a really, really big piece. Again, tons more to say about this. Just highlighting some major pieces for you today. We'll go deeper into this, each one of these, in future videos. So rate yourself 1 to 10 on emotional health. Are you able to connect human to human in your life, in your leadership, and in your business? Are you able to connect heart to heart? Is how you relate to people in your business specifically, let's start there. Is it via connection or is it a transaction? And then maybe that's, in your life too. Is it more connection or is it more transaction, right? For example, I know someone who's been in sales most of their life. Like literally, they've just been in sales most of their life. So, the environments that we're in cultivate who we are. Our habits that we do day in and day out build who we are. We cultivate who we are by our habits and the environments we put ourselves in. So this person that I'm thinking of was in sales most of his life, has no idea how to connect to another human. He only knows how to interact via a transaction. So, it doesn't really help for intimate connection. Definitely doesn't help for dating, right? Because dating is not a transaction. I mean, it can be, but if you want intimate connection with someone, longevity and connection, that's not going to work, right? So there's an example of connection versus transaction, what that might look like. So rate yourself 1 to 10 on the emotional health. Are you able to connect human to human, heart to heart? That's a 10. Life, leadership, and business. If you're not, and you have a struggle with that and you're not sure how, and everything it just is a transaction for you, this is not a judgment. This is just an assessment. Okay. That's a 1. And then everything in between, right? Scale of 1 to 10. Okay. Last one. I've saved the best for last, as this is the most powerful overarching influence over all the others. And it is your health spiritually. Your health spiritually. So for this, if we don't include God in what we do, and I'm not saying this from a religious standpoint, I'm talking about God, not religion. There's a difference. Some people have met religion, not God. There's a very big difference. A lot of people have met religion and not God, because they hear the word God and they get triggered and they're like, oh, you're being religious now because I use the word God. No, not that. So if we forget God or don't have a relationship with God, we forget grace. Then we don't know how to bring grace into our life, leadership, and business. We don't know how to give grace to ourselves. We don't know how to give grace to other people. We don't know how to give grace to, okay, I had this idea and this vision and it's taking longer than I thought. It happens sometimes and that's okay. Can we give grace to that? Can we enjoy the journey? Can we learn from the experience? That's all forms of grace, right? Or giving grace. That's a bigger conversation for another time, but there's some nuggets there for you. So if we don't include grace and we don't include God in what we're in our life, leadership, and business, we end up in lone wolf. We think there's nobody else but ourselves, and we have to do it all ourselves. We end up thinking we have to figure it all out ourselves. We have to do it all ourselves. We're no longer co-creating, right? We're in this tunnel vision of it's just me and I got to figure all this out. That is not a fun place to be. It can be very, very stressful, and that can affect your emotional health, right? Because it's emotionally stressful. It can affect your mental health because you're constantly thinking about, I can't stop thinking about work because it's only me and I don't have anything else to lean on. So I got to figure it all out myself. Can you see how this overarchingly affects everything? And then of course, when our mental and emotional health isn't well, our physical body is going to reflect that. So then our physical health will feel that as well and will decline because of that. So when we are no longer co-creating, we're no longer co-creating with Creator, we have left the divine out of it, out of what we're doing. So we can't really say we're following our divine calling if we lone wolf it and don't know how to lean on divine guidance. Or we don't know how to discern when it's actually divine guidance or it's just ego talking us in circles or ego talking us out of our greatness. That's definitely not divine guidance, right? And then if we don't know how to receive divine guidance, then we don't know how to receive in general, right? How we do one thing is how we do all things. If we don't know how to receive, then we struggle with letting go. And that can look like delegating, right? Oh, I do it the best, so nobody else can do it better than me. So I have to do everything and I can't delegate to anybody else to handle something, right? There's a struggle there with letting go. There's a struggle with delegating to other people so you don't have to work all the time. Can be a struggle with trust issues, right? If you haven't learned to trust God, you don't have a relationship with God, you're probably not going to trust yourself or other people, right? Because that's a muscle that you build internally. Everything is a muscle that you build internally, right? It's a self-cultivation. How you do one thing is how you do all things. So maybe you struggle with building a team, like you'd love to build a team, but you don't end up learning how because you can't let go. Or you keep hiring the wrong people who are not a match, or attracting the wrong clients, right? Maybe there's a level of not trusting yourself, not trusting your intuition, not trusting your heart, not trusting what's in your heart, and overriding all of it with ego, because that's all we'll have left in the end. If this spiritual aspect is missing, that includes the heart, the intuition, the divine guidance, all of that, all we have left is the head. All we have left is the ego, keeping us small, keeping us stuck, keeping us out of change and evolutionary growth in ourselves and our business. All we're left with is an ego-based reaction more than anything else. So rate yourself on this one. Again, this is a big topic too. I could do videos on all these subjects and probably will. But for now, again, we're just going to go through some highlights. So rate yourself 1 to 10 on spiritual health. 10 being like, my business is based on my divine calling and I know it, and I listen to Creator and I'm guided by Creator. I'm guided by God, and I pay attention and I listen to my heart and I pay attention and I discern and I listen to my intuition. I don't brush it under the rug. I don't second guess it. It's very, very, very attuned. That's a 10. 1 would be the opposite of that, and then rate yourself in between. Okay, wherever you land. Again, this is not a place to judge yourself. It's a place to assess where you're at so that you can grow, because there's always going to be room for improvement in any of these. If you're really honest, you'll never be a 10. You'll never rate yourself a 10 because you always want to give yourself room to grow. So I might have just called some people out who rated yourself a 10. Okay, so based on all of this, how is this landing? What has landed the most out of all of this? Is it helpful to hear some of these things and to assess where you're at? And can you see where there's room for growth? And where you could change, where you could grow, where you could adjust? Let me know in the comments what you're learning from this. And then what can you do about it? So now we have this assessment and now we kind of know where we land. So then what? Here's what you can do is body-based transformational work, somatic work, because you don't think your way out of these things. We don't think our way into improvement. Even if we're talking about mindset, your mindset can also change through the body. Because a lot of the times what we think is based on the patterns that exist in the body, which is the subconscious mind. So we transform the subconscious and our belief systems start changing, meaning we start saying different things, we start thinking different things, we start believing different things that are more in alignment with our heart and what we actually want. So you transform through your body, your subconscious mind, where all these patterns reside. And the way that we do that here is through embodiment trainings. I've mentioned these before, I'll mention them again. These are offered through all my programs, no matter what level of business that you're in. They're all part of your leadership. They all grow your leadership in how you think, act, be, and do. And you can enroll in these embodiment trainings. Obviously, if you're enrolled in any one of our leadership and business programs, you'll automatically get the embodiment trainings. But you can also enroll in them as a standalone training without being in a program. So hope that was helpful today. Let me know in the comments how all of that has landed, what your biggest takeaways were, what was most impactful today, what has you thinking a different way about how you approach health and how that can influence the wealth that you have and the wealth that you want to sustain. And for some of you, the wealth that you want to create.